Welcome. In this video, I'll show you a method of making an inventory very similar to retro adventure games such as The Legend of Zelda, one of my personal favorites. Anyhow, I'm going to move into game and show you what the inventory looks like. I'll explain a few things and then we will get straight into rebuilding it. It's where we're going to call our inventory. And you notice how it slides down onto screen. Okay, so all the items that I have collected show up here. We have some buttons that will be here later, some other icons that will be here later, and we have a completely different inventory menu that you can set up here. You have a cursor, so the cursor moves and goes to the different locations. You can go there, go there, go there, you can go there, go up, down, down. Okay, so here, this is just for testing purposes. I have a draw sprite, and it changes its image index based on what slot we're on, and this is slot 0, so it's 0. This is 2, 3, 4, and 5, and you will see this number change respectively based on which slot it's on. And that was just for testing purposes. And then since in the inventory, items can be utilized, and so you see now he's shooting his bullet. There are some other items that our player here can use, so as well as the very broken torch. It doesn't work right. See, it just kind of moves around player. But let's jump straight in and I will show you how this inventory was made. To begin, you need to make a couple of objects. You'll need to make a global. You'll need to make the inventory object itself. You'll need to make the cursor, and you'll need to have the character. So let's start with the dummy global. The dummy global will have a create event, it will have a step event, and it will have a draw. So this is where we're going to store our global variables, and we are going to say dummy.global. Oops. Underscore global. Dot. Okay. We're going to copy this line by Control C, enter, then Control V, and we will do that a few times. Okay, so now we'll fill them in. Let's say was true. It does not matter what you name your objects or your items. I've already predetermined what mine will be. You can create yours to be whatever you like. We put our grapple, bomb. Let's see. see, gauntlet. And we're just making these true so that I don't have to go through the whole creation process of everything else. Try to keep this as simple as possible. Let's see, we're going to give him a hat. Horseshoe. So this is what we are going to have in our create event. We don't need a whole lot more than that. Yes, there is that there. This will be for this will be for our direction. This will be our slot number, and these are for our inventory items. Particularly need much more than that. Nah, we'll do this. And that will be for our pausing feature. And I put that in the crap. Pay attention to what tab you're on. This should be in the create. Okay, so now we'll move over to our step event. And this is where we're going to this is how we're going to create our inventory. So first we'll give it an action button. Let's say var action key equals keyboard check ord m. Yeah, that will be our this will be our action key. And we'll give it this will be how we call our inventory. So from here if action key, if we press the action key, and we're going to say if menu equals false, So what this does is, when menu is true, everything will pause. We'll get into that later. So when we press our action key and call our inventory, we want the game itself to pause, but not the inventory. So we're going to follow this up with if not instance exists, dummy inventory. If it does not exist, then we want to say .x. Then I'm going to cheat. I like to copy paste. Copy. And if we change that to y. Instances. Dummy inventory. And this will create our, if it does not already exist, it will create. If not instance EXIS. Typo. Always double check your typing. So if it does not exist, we're going to create our inventory, and we will need to also create our cursor. We'll make some changes here. I want to zoom in so you can see a little better. Okay. So, this is how we will call it to the screen. We'll follow that by closing our brackets, and we'll put an else statement. Closing off all of our brackets. Yep, we'll double check those. Excellent. So what this is going to do, when we press our action key, which we've set to M, menu will be, if menu is false, it will be true, which will pause the game. If the inventory does not exist, it will be created. When the inventory is created, it will also create its own cursor. Otherwise, let's say the inventory is already open, we press the action key, it will destroy, and menu will equal false, which will unpause whole thing. And then we need to say if dummy global equals true, instance deactivate all equals no true. So everything will be paused, but we want our inventory to be active. And we will take this, duplicate this line, and change that to our cursor name. Okay, so we'll have that there. We'll close that bracket, and we'll say if it equals false, put that there. So this will control whether or not the game is paused when we open our menu. Let's look over at the draw for our global. It doesn't necessarily need to have one. So that will be all for our global. So you'll need to make sure that you put your dummy global into your room. Now we will move over to the inventory itself. The inventory has a create, it has a step, and it has a draw. Yeah, that's all it's going to have. Inside of here, we're in the create event for our inventory. First and foremost, you'll need to assign a sprite for your inventory. This is my sprite, and this is typically what it looks like. If it's not told what to do, it'll just look like that, but we're going to have it on this. My sprite is 300 by 171 high in pixels. This becomes important because the origin of the sprite is in the center, and when our cursor is drawn to the screen, it will be assigned to a position as relative to this center origin point. So this will be important later. There is a 40 pixel difference going up and down between the boxes. So from center here to center here is 40 pixels. From center here to center here is 33 pixels. We'll get into that later, but you will need to have a sprite. Mine is set up to have 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21 slots. I'll leave that open because we will need to reference it later. So in the create event for our inventory, let me zoom in and you can see a little better. We're going to say, well, first and foremost, when the inventory is created, it needs to create its own cursor. X minus 124, Y minus 73. Instances. Dummy cursors. So when our inventory creates itself, it's going to create our cursor, and it is going to create our cursor right here, which will be slot 0. And so X minus 124 from this position puts it here. Y minus 73 places it here. So X goes left and right, Y go up and down. Y minus goes up, Y plus goes down. X minus will take your object left, X plus will take it to the right. So now we need to give our inventory some, let's give it some sliding, I guess. I want it to slide down. So we'll say start equals X, which will be the position where it's drawn, and then we will say destination equals X. Duration will equal 30 steps. Time will equal 0. If you did not know, double slash is how you put comments in your code. So be where the object spawns, how far we want it to slide, how long it should take. Very, very easy. You do not have to comment, I do. We're going to say this will be the information for drawing the sprites, because they will all have to slide into place also. So we're going to say portrait X equals X. We'll copy that line. And we'll say portrait Y equals Y minus 100. Okay, that's real easy. Then we'll say target X will equal X minus 110. Then we will copy this line. We'll say the target Y equals Y minus 10. Really easy, real easy. We'll also need to there's some stuff that will need to go into the step as well. So I think we've got enough for right now. Let's go into the step. And make sure the inventory is on top. Depth equals minus, we'll just give it a nice high number and then make sure it stays on top. So what we need to do now is add some variables that will, we'll add some things that will go along with these variables to make our dummy inventory slide onto the screen. So I'll zoom in a little more. Y equals lerp. Lerp will make your object move. Target Y, 0.5. Real easy stuff. Okay. And we'll also need to give our inventory an action key. So var action key equals keyboard check. Ord F That'll be our action key. And we will give it a cancel key. For our cancel will equal we will use G for this. Okay. That's our action key. So, if cancel, if we press cancel, we will want menu to equal false, which will unpause game, and then we will say instance destroy, dummy cursor. We'll destroy the cursor, and then we will say instance destroy, which will make it destroy itself. So we'll slide onto screen. We have our action keys, which is how we open and close the menu. I'm actually going to change that. M, yes. So if I press M, it will open, and if I press G, it should close. That is all we need in the step. And then we go into the draw, which is where things begin to get messy. Do I want to do that yet? Yes, I do. If dummy slot equals 0. And this is where we'll be drawing our sprites into the inventory. Draw sprite. What the hell is that? Yes, I have this sprite here was created. It has 20 frames and it just counts 0 through 20. And the purpose of this is for my testing purposes. When you move the slot, you want to be able to make sure which slot you are assigning. So you can make that sprite. You do not have to add this part. And this will be its index. Dummy inventory .x minus 124 .y plus 80. Okay, so all this is going to do is draw our numbers. What did I miss? Something's not right. What do we got? What's the problem? Expected 4 got 3, draw sprite, 0. Step sprite 0. Dummy. got 4. Something's not right here. So let me go back to the global and make sure. Yeah, there's slot. It's interesting. So let's compare. That's weird. Something's not right. We'll come back to that later. Missed a mark there. So now it's corrected. And we can copy that. We'll change these. 6, 7. Okay. 8, 9, 10, 11. I'll only go up to 11 for here. What's the problem? So this will make our slot counter show up on the screen. Okay, so what we need next is this will draw the designated sprite per slot as needed. But first we'll need to tell our inventory how to display itself, and we will do that with draw sprite. Use that. We will give it an index of 1. And this will tell it to slide onto the screen and display itself as the sprite we've given for our inventory. Next, we need to put in we'll draw our sprite for the item. It only has 1 frame, so we'll leave that at 0. X minus 124, Y minus 73. So this is going to draw this item slot. Where are we? Cursor, into it. This is going to draw that first item here in slot 0. since we are going to be using 11 items, we can go ahead, copy this. And make a few changes. There's our gauntlet. Our grapple. Then I'll put that there. And torch. So now we'll need to make a few more changes. Since these are all going to be going across in the grid, you'll need to subtract 40 for each space that you go through. So this will become 80, actually 84. This will become minus 44. This will become minus 4. And this one will be plus 36. Okay, and all the Y's can stay the same. Let's make this a little neater. Okay, so that's set up. We will now copy that. This is only the first row of the inventory. And this will be the second row. So we're going to change a few items. Give him a bow, and we'll give him a balloon. And that takes us up to 10. We will now need to copy that. Wait, something's not right here. There we go. Got his balloon, and now we'll give him the horseshoe. Okay, and we'll change this to SPR horseshoe and SPR balloon. We need to change these also. So that's gonna be glove. We're just assigning the sprites. We've got grappler, then really? There it is. And then we'll change this one to SPR underscore torch. So these are the sprites for the first row. Then we'll make that neater. Oops. Okay, so just use sprites. Bow, then his balloon, and his horseshoe. Do we need anything else right here? No, we do not. So, all this is going to do is, this will be our counter test, so that our slot number will display on the screen, and this simply tells the first two rows where the items should be. So that's the draw for that. Now we'll look into our test room. We've got our player. Let's give that a run and see how it turns out. Excuse me. So we will start and see, we have our dummy player here, and when we press M we get a freaking error. Okay, variable unknown, dummy inventory draw line 24. Okay, so we need to go have a look at that. Draw line 24. Somewhere here, it's not adding up. Line 24, that's our has torch. These should not be blue. They should be pink. Interesting. Anyhow, our torch has torch equals true. Draw sprite, SPR torch 036, Y73. So what is variable dummy global? Okay, I may have forgotten to put that item or variable in our dummy global. Yeah, I didn't give it to him. Make that true. Okay, so that ought to fix that. And I actually want, I had the wrong sprite there. I need to fix that. That's that one, yeah. And I'll make this one just solid color. Oops. Just make that black. So speed will be minus 0.5. So our stars will scroll. So we'll put our dummy player in, and we will run that again and see how it turns out. And here we are. If we press our menu button, you now see our inventory has slid onto the screen, but our sprites are all on top of each other. They have not been properly assigned. So we'll go back in. We'll need to make some changes here. This is in the draw. So those are fine. And these need to be minus 40. Nope. Yeah, okay. So we also need to add some things to our cursor. It will have a create, and it will have a step. In the create, we're going to have a few simple variables. Just drop that in. This lets it know that from its start position that it can move to the right and it can move down, but it cannot move up and it cannot move left. And that should be in the create. Moving to the step. This is where things will get really, really messy a bit. Not really. We want to say depth minus equal big number. This will make sure cursor is always on the top of everything else. We're going to say if not instance exists, instance destroy. So if our inventory does not exist, we want the cursor to destroy itself. If the dummy inventory exists, we want our cursor to have some movement variables. So this will be our up variable, and we'll, oh, what the hell, close the bracket so we can get rid of these lines, and the line's still there. missed something. That makes sense. And we'll copy that because we need up, down, left, and right. And we'll say so now it knows it can move with these buttons up, down, left, and right. We're also going to give it an action key. We'll use F for this. So this will be how we make our selections. So is there anything else that needs to go into there? Yeah, there's a lot more that needs to go into that. So the next thing we're going to do is we want to add some slot numbers. And this is going to tell our cursor what it should and should not do. We're only going to do so many slots in this video. So I'm going to say if x equals and y equals dummy inventory dot y minus 73, dummy global slot will equal 0. So again, we're going to look back at this sprite. So if my cursor's X lines up with this sprite's origin X minus 124, origin Y minus 73, this will be slot 0. Now, we're going to need, at minimum, 11 of these. So, I'm going to put 11 of them in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the top row. Top row. So we'll need to make some changes here. 44, then 4, and then this should be plus 36. 36, okay. Make sure everything stays nice and neat. Y minus 73. Then we'll change this. Okay, go ahead and change this. And then we would actually be going into the third row. Cool. And this will be slot 10. We can go ahead and finish adding all the slots. And that'll be our 14 slots going 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So since we're on the second row, we will leave these numbers the same as the row above. And this will be the same. But a huge difference is going to be the Y. It's going to shift 33 pixels. So, well, 30 or etc. 40, whatever. I'm not so great with math. So this row will be Y minus 40. And then this row will be Y plus 33. So this will be our 14 slots. These coordinates will directly line up with the coordinates for these sprites. So we're going to run again and make sure that our inventory is displaying the cursor properly. So if we start, here's our player, inventory comes in, but we're getting this secondary cursor here. I'm not sure why that's there yet, but you see our slot counter is here. And I don't see my balloon. The balloon is being drawn in the wrong slot. But anyway, our cursor is here. We can move it. No, the hell we can't. Why not? Oh, because we haven't told it to yet. Now let's tell our cursor how to move. This part is really crappy. If up if you press up and the slot number is less than or equal to 4, and dummy global dot slot not 15. Then we want our cursor to move to the right. What's going on here? Why do I keep getting that? Do I have caps on or something? Since when? Okay. Equal 33. Yeah, that should be fine. But for some reason it's not. F up and dummy global slot less than or greater than equal 4 and dummy global dot slot not equal 15. Y minus equal 33. So what is the problem we're having here? Goes to there. What are you connected to? That should go all the way up. Yes. So, what am I missing here? If up and slot less than equals 4. Unexpected syntax error. Let's run a quick test and see if I get same error from a reliable piece of code. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense there. I have typed something wrong. Press down and global.slot is less than 10 and not 15. We want Y to go down 33. So then we'll say right global.slot not 0 and not equals 5. 15 and we want x2 plus equal 40. And then we'll say left and slot not 0 and not 5. Slot 10 x minus equals 40. I see where I screw up at. Don't need those. No, error gone away. So let's double check where we are creating our sprite. This is create dummy cursor. Okay, so we didn't create the cursor in the right place. Cancel. Instance destroyed. We didn't tell it to create it yet, did we? Okay, so we need to double check that in our global. Yes, it is in global, in our step. Minus 124 and y minus 73. So that should straighten out our cursor. Let's give that a run. Make sure we have everything where it needs to be. When we run, now we have our inventory here. You see the cursor, you see the items are being drawn in. This is slot 0, so when we go to move our cursor, it's still not freaking moving. Huh. Well, okay. Something's not right. It's not moving the way it's supposed to. Alright, we will fix that though. Let's see, dummy cursor. Oh, I get it. So I messed something up. This should actually be full. 4, yeah. We also need to change where we are drawing our Oh, no wonder. Okay. Yeah, okay. We need to change where we are drawing our horseshoe and balloon. So let's get that back on screen, and we will need to correct this. Plus 36. Okay, so now we can call our menu, we can cancel our menu. Call menu, cancel, cancel menu. So when we call our menu, now we can move, and you see the slot number is changing as it is supposed to, but it's not told to go here yet. We also have not told our cursor what to do when it goes over here or down here or down here yet. And we have not told it that it cannot go outside the box from this sum slot. We will fix those later. For now, I want to work on moving these two sprites. So I need to have this on screen for a moment, and I need to change and let's see, there's the bow. I'm gonna leave the balloon where it is. We need to change 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, this goes into the third row. So we want that to be minus 124, and then we need to crap. Where's our bow? So that's minus 4, minus 124. Y minus 40. Have a look at that origin again. Yes, okay. Why? Yeah, that should be fine. That should take our balloon. Actually, no, I did that backwards. Now, that should take our last item sprite and move it here. So I'm going to give that a run and have a look at it. We run. There's our inventory. And we need to raise it up a little bit, so we'll say y minus 5. Okay. Although I'm most certain, let's see, 4, 9, 10, it should be minus 7. And that will put our horseshoe centered in this box. But for now, you see the slot number does change. And the global slot is only so player knows, or the player can utilize items depending on the slot they're on. If we press button again, it cancel, press, call. Excellent. Well, for now, this will conclude the first portion of this. The next portion is going to involve fleshing out the character so that he can actually use the items, and we're going to have to create the items as well. I hope you enjoyed this inventory demonstration, and anything that you would like to see added to this. I'll probably do this over the course of 3 videos. Anything you'd like to see added to it, just leave it in the comments. But keep in mind, the next thing, in the next video, we're going to add some functionality the ability to select these items, as well as we'll put a box on screen that'll show what you have equipped. We'll turn this into a menu slot, as well as these into menu slots. We will fine-tune how these cursor moves around. As you see now, it can get outside of boundaries. It's not supposed to yet, so we have to tell it that it can't. And we'll get to that later. I hope you've enjoyed this. Thank you for watching.